So last time we talked about security and saw one of the first ciphers, which was used by Julius Caesar, and talked about Kirchhoff's principles about how to what requirements should you expect from a secure cryptographic system. And Kirchhoff's principle said that only the key should be secret rather than the entire algorithm. So Kirchhoff C oops Kerchoff Kirchhoff's principle states that only the key needs to be secure and key needs to be a secret, whereas the encryption system should not be a secret, right? The cipher method, so in simpler words, as in the book, the cipher method must not be be required to be a secret, be a secret, and it must be able to, and it must be able to fall into the hands of the enemy, into the hands of the enemy without incon inconvenience. So Kirchhoff's method principle said that it shouldn't matter if the enemy has it, but in general, for today's users, it basically says it should in fact the encryption method should be available to the public, and the reasons for that is first, so that when you publish an algorithm, when you publish a design, they undergo a lot more scrutiny. So published designs undergo undergo a lot more scrutiny. CRU scrutiny, and are therefore likely to be stronger, and are likely to be stronger. Okay, what is the second? Well, if your system is not completely safe, it is better to have its flaws revealed by ethical hackers. Better to have flaws revealed by ethic, ethical hackers rather than a malicious party. Malicious party. Okay, and the third is, if you are trying to keep the security of the system completely reliant on the secrecy of the algorithm, then there might be a way to reverse engineer the complete code, right? So if security of the security of the system relies on secrecy of the algorithm, it might be possible to reverse engineer the code. Reverse engineer the code with certain pieces of information. Certain pieces of information. In which case, your entire security is going to come crashing down. Okay? So, why are we looking at this? Well, all of these make things good, right? All of these things should be looked at so that our system is more secure. And what are the types of attacks we should be expecting? So, attack scenarios. Well, now, so Kirchhoff's principle says it is okay to have your, what do you call? It is okay to have your decryption algorithm known, right? But the key should be a secret. Well, if the key is secret, then there are still multiple things that can happen, multiple information that the enemy can get that can allow them to break the code, right? What are the pieces of information the enemy can use to try and break your system? In that case, the first one is the easiest one: ciphertext only attack. Ciphertext only attack. Well, this is the most common one, right? You are you send a encrypted message to a friend or someone intercepts the message in the middle and tries to determine what the code is. So, most basic attack, which is adversary observes just the ciphertext and tries to determine the plain text, right? Because the eventual goal of any attack is going to be to determine the information that is being sent, right? Even if someone gets the ciphertext, they shouldn't be able to get the plain text. Okay, now known plain text attack. Known plain text attack. Okay, now this is something more interesting. The adversary learns one or more pairs of plain text ciphertext. Plain text ciphertext, CIPH ciphertext, and then tries to then the aim is to decrypt some other ciphertext. Is to decrypt some other ciphertext. Right? So now you might be wondering, how does this second kind of attack even take place? So there are some information at times that you might get the ciphertext early, right? A lot of times corporate information which they're going to be going to declare after some point might be needed to be kept secret only until their budget season, maybe. So that information is first sent via ciphertext to people, and then it is published. Once it is published, you know the plain text that was sent with the ciphertext, right? So in that case, for the first few days or so, you only know the ciphertext. After that, you know the plain text, and now you have the entire plain text plus ciphertext combo. Then you want to be able to use that to create use that to break other ciphertexts. Okay. Third, chosen plain text attack. Chosen plain text attack. So now this is an attack which is unlike the other two, where this is not completely natural. It doesn't just happen very realistically, but it is also something that you can use to check how strong your security is. It is an important way to do it. What is this one? The adversary. The adversary has the ability to obtain the encryption of any plain text of its choice. To obtain the encryption of any plain text of its choice. Okay, so you have some plain text that you want to encode. You use that, look what the encryption is, and then you try to get what the other encryptions are. Sorry about that. It then attempts to, let's say, to decrypt some other plain text, some other ciphertexts. Okay, and the fourth one is chosen ciphertext attack. Ciphertext attack. Okay, so what is the chosen ciphertext attack? Well, the adversary can decrypt, is given the decryption of any ciphertext of their choice. Is given the decryption of any ciphertext of their choice. Okay, so they're given one or some small amount of decryptions of any ciphertext they choose, and then their goal is to again attempt to decrypt some other ciphertexts. The goal is to then attempt to decrypt some other ciphertext. Okay, so these are the four kind of attacks that we generally have, right? And ideally, a strong system should not fall vulnerable to any of these. And we saw that the most basic system that we tried last time, which was the shift cipher that Julius Caesar used, right? Also known as Caesar's cipher. fails under any of these. If you know the if you know plain text attacks, for example, if you know uh, what plain text gets mapped to what ciphertext, you might be able to completely figure out what the key is. You will be able to completely figure out what the key is and solve the entire code, right? And so one of the first things we notice is that uh, major flaw with shift slash Caesars, CASER, CAESAR, CAESAR, Caesar's cipher is that the key space is too small, right? And you can just use brute force. Can be brute forced. Can be brute forced. Okay, so the first observation we make is the sufficient key space principle. Sufficient key space principle, which says any secure encryption system, encryption system must have a sufficiently large key space, which is not vulnerable to exhaustive search. Must have a key space that is not vulnerable, that is not vulnerable to exhaustive searches. Exhaustive search, which is just pure brute force attack, right? And so clearly our first example, which was Julius Caesar's cipher, failed. So let us look at some other examples. So example 2. So instead of shifting everything by one particular letter, what we can do is look at the substitution cipher. Substitution cipher. Okay, so I say, hey, instead of saying that if A goes to D, then B has to go to E and C has to go to F and so on, let me fix the substitution for each letter. So fix the substitution for each letter. Fix substitution for each letter and code message using the substitution. Okay, for example, let us use the substitution let us say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Great. Managed to fit them in a line. And the code I'm going to be using is X, E, U, A, D, N, B, K, B, K, V, M, R, V, M, R O C Q F S Y H W G L Z I J P T. Okay, great. So this is some substitution that I have. Each letter should appear exactly once in this. And then what I'm saying is I am going to code some message using this. So then the message M is equal to tell them about it becomes the ciphertext becomes GDOO GKDC XEFLG XEFLG VG. Great. So now I have some ciphertext that I have managed to encode. So which is this is my encryption using my key of my message. Great. And so now the total key space is equal to, well, for the first letter I have 26 choices, for the second letter I have 25 choices, and so forth. And so that is equal to 26 factorial, which is approximately to the order of 2 to the power 88, right? And this is huge. The heat death of universe is 2 to the 64 seconds. This is going to be definitely more than that. If you do computations once, if you try a key out once every second, it would take you more time than the heat death of the universe, right? Sorry. However, the very big problem with this is it is still really easy. However, breaking it is still really easy. In fact, people solve puzzles like this before breakfast often. People break such puzzles within 20 minutes. Experienced people manage to do it, right? So even though my key space is 26 factorial, which is more than the heat death of the universe, this is not very secure. And why is that? What is the flaw that is making it not work? Problem? The letters in English alphabet do not occur with same frequency. The probability distribution, the probability distribution of letters in English is known. Look at figure 1.2 in the book. Figure 1.2 in the book. Okay, so what happens now is you look at the probability distribution of how many times certain letters showing up. Well, if the message is small enough, maybe this won't be super obvious what the encryption is and which letters are occurring. But if you're using the same key again and again, as if you're doing so, then people could just combine all these keys, all the ciphertext, look at all these ciphertext, and see how many times is a certain letter occurring. And then map these letters to the known frequencies. This is like some letters are going to afterwards deviate from the frequency. It's not going to be exact, but once you know the most common letter being E, for example, frequency of E is about 0.3 or something, 0.27 maybe. For example, the most frequent letter is E, followed by T. So now you already have two letters that you know. Now, if you find something like T space E as one word, then you can be sure that the middle word is probably a middle letter is probably H.